Hey everybody, this is Big Lair at Jack's Private Coffee Corner, coming to you live from Nagoya, Japan. I hope everybody's doing well. Today is February 11th. It's a Tuesday. Kind of nice sunny weather here in Japan. Oh, it's a little cold though. Probably all of you have seen the news. There's this cruise ship, what is it called? The Princess Queen, I think. Cruise ship that's in Yokohama port. 3,700 people on the boat. And there's a ton of people with the coronavirus. I think yesterday alone there were 65 new cases of the coronavirus. And I just watched the news. Of course, the Japanese news, right? I mean, I've lived in Japan, let's see, for a total of 16 years. You know, I'm fluent in the language. So, you know, if I say I'm watching the news or I'm talking to somebody, I'm talking to them in Japanese or I'm listening to the news in Japanese. Just watched the news before turning my video on here, and they were talking about they didn't have enough ambulances in the Yokohama/Tokyo area to take care of all these people with the coronavirus. Now I don't know how they do it. I'm guessing they use one ambulance per patient, or per infected patient, that is. And they're asking for ambulances now to come from about 6 or 7 different prefectures to help out. And I believe the prefecture that I live in, Aichi Prefecture, where Nagoya is, I believe they will be sending some help also. I think the military has been called in. Japan has a self-defense force. They don't call it a military or an army or a navy due to the constitution that was created for Japan by the military after World War I. They have a self-defense force, and I believe that self-defense force has now been asked to help out because the situation is getting pretty serious. There's a lot of criticism, of the government, how they're handling things. The biggest criticism is, why haven't they tested everyone yet? There was a government official, I forget the guy's name, he came out a number of days ago and he said, well, we have enough laboratories in Japan. We could easily test 14,000 people for the coronavirus in one day. So it's no problem. Well, that's not the reality of the situation. There are a couple very sharp doctors that have been on TV. There's one woman in particular, and at the moment I forget her name. She wears glasses. She's got her hair dyed a little tint of red, kind of a brownish red. Looks pretty serious, and she seems to know her stuff. And she was on this TV show, or she was being interviewed along with this government official when he said the 14,000 number. And I saw her yesterday on TV, and she said, well, I was there when he said that. I didn't say anything to him about it. Now that's because she doesn't want the guy to lose face, right? She knows he was being a knucklehead for saying that. He was wrong, but she just kept quiet. That's Japan. That's, these Asian societies. Face is really important. Anyway, when she said there's no way we could test that many people. Maybe that's the max number we could test in all of Japan. However, you have to realize not every laboratory in the country is going to shut down and stop processing all of the lab work for the, probably the thousands of hospitals there are here just to, test these corona potential patients who may have, or I should say patients who may potentially have the coronavirus. There's other things they're doing. The second issue is that this test for the coronavirus seems to be a little bit involved. There are some steps involved, and not every worker at these laboratories is able to do the test. It'd sort of be like if you were a mechanic and you had what's a good example here? Okay, you've dealt with carburetors all your life, and now someone comes in with a fuel injection system, and you were trained on it, 4 years ago, and you have a manual for fuel injection, but you've never done it before. You're going to be a little slow checking this person's fuel injection and trying to find the problem, right? Because you're used to working on carburetors. It's probably the same kind of deal. These people are trained, they know what they're doing, and oftentimes the laboratories are no different than any other job. Maybe you're the guy who gets the whatever lab work. You get the blood work and you get this and you get that, and your coworker, they get whatever tests, And you do your test, they do their tests. And you don't switch back and forth, right? So the coronavirus may be one of those things where, they haven't seen it in years. They know about it. They went to like a training seminar a number of years ago. Yeah, okay, I went to the seminar. I've got a piece of paper that says I'm certified. But you're not doing it every day. So when it comes down to it, you're not going to be able to do it fast enough to reach the number that this, whoever this government official was, you can't reach the numbers that he said. So that's the basic take on it there. So there's some criticism there that the government, why haven't they tested everyone? I think, personally, this is just my opinion. This is my opinion. Now, I would not want to be a politician. I would not want to be someone in government. I've known people who are in government, and I know how tough the job is. There are so many things involved in being a government official you can't imagine. And there's all kinds of crap that you've never heard of, right? There's all kinds of, kind of secretive things, under the table things that no one talks about, things that once you get into the job, you may never find out about. And if you do find out about it, you're like, holy crap, I hope no one finds out about this. You're going to want to keep it under the table yourself. So there's just all this stuff. Not even getting into the woo-woo or any of that weird stuff, just the daily managing of your job and all the people involved is so tremendous, and you have a team of people and whatnot. I wouldn't want the job. So this is just my opinion. It's just my opinion. So the cruise ship sails up. At this point, no one really thought the coronavirus was outside of China. Most likely, they did not expect one of the passengers on this cruise ship to have been in Wuhan before he took the cruise, and then he gets on the boat and infects a bunch of people. No one was expecting that. I don't think they were expecting the number of people who've come down with the virus, who've caught the virus, to be as high as it is. And okay, just imagine this scenario. So you're in charge in Japan, right? And the boat's coming in, and you've got some people with coronavirus. You talk to some experts and they say, man, this could be highly contagious. Are you going to let, potentially 3,700 people off the boat to walk around Yokohama? And they may travel to Tokyo or wherever while they're here. They may go through the airport. They may, someone may decide, the hell with this. I'm going to fly back to America. I'm going to fly to England or wherever they're from, Australia. I'm just picking countries out of thin air. And then they get on a plane, coughing and hacking. Now they infect how many hundreds of people on a plane? You've been through a train station, right? You've sat in a jam-packed train car in Japan where you coughed and that air got recycled, and now potentially thousands of people on that train are infected. If you're the person in the government who gets this information, hey, there's a ship coming into port, we know it has people with coronavirus on it, what do? First of all, you say, whoa. Okay, keep them out in the water a while until we figure this thing out. That's the only thing it could do. Now, I do think they should test these people as fast as possible. Why? Because you're going to have healthy people on the boat who are now being stuck for 14 days. We don't know what the conditions are actually, right? I mean, we've seen news reports. There are some Americans who have been, tweeting on Twitter and putting out things on YouTube maybe, or doing interviews, and they're saying they cannot get any news. I'm not surprised. You're in, this boat is probably filled with Japanese workers. The Japanese are dealing with this. Most Japanese cannot speak English well enough to fight their way out of a paper bag. And I'm not being mean by saying that. I'm just saying, hey, I've lived here for 16 years. I've taught in every level of school there is here, from elementary all the way to college. So I know the low level of English the average person speaks. These health professionals, they're not going to speak English. If I go to the doctor, the only way I can communicate with my doctor is because he learned, it depends. You'll have doctors who know everything in German because they studied German in medical school here, or if you're lucky, you meet a doctor who studied things in Latin, and then he can tell you the words in Latin. I understand Latin well enough to be able to communicate with my doctor and say, hey, this part hurts or this and that. But, if it was German, I'm going to be stuck, right? So the English, forget about English. it doesn't surprise me that there's no announcements in English or very little in English. That's just how it is. Unfortunately, people thought, oh yeah, take a cruise, something goes wrong. Oh, part of our itinerary is Japan. Japan's a safe country, it'll be okay. Japan is a safe country. It's a great country. It's a fantastic country. However, the reality of it is they were most likely not prepared for this, and I don't know who would be. And the level of English is very, very low. Very low. So, I really wish I had a way to connect with some of these people on the cruise ship who speak English, because I'd give them the news. I'd let them know what's going on. I could watch the news for them and then translate it, I could be sitting there watching it and having a live, WhatsApp or Skype chat with them saying, hey, this is what's going on. And I think that's sort of, imagine being on the cruise ship, and you're in a country where you don't speak the language and they don't speak your language. You don't know what's happening. And you have people coming. I've dealt with executives in large companies, in very large companies here in Japan, and some of them cannot speak English well enough to communicate anything of importance. And like I said, I'm not trying to knock anybody. I'm just giving you the straight scoop. I've seen guys who've had to give speeches at international conferences. I've met guys who deal with other automakers and have to explain, new developments in technology in English. They struggle like hell. They don't know what the heck to say. So I can imagine you're on this cruise ship, and most likely the workers are going to be from like India, Nepal, Myanmar, places where it's very difficult to find a job. So these kinds of, and normally you'll find that in Asia. In Asia, you'll find some of the best workers are from, Nepal, Myanmar, where else? Sometimes Sri Lanka. Yeah, Sri Lanka. You'll sometimes see Indian workers, because these people, they have no better option in their country, and they're very personable. They're very, people from Nepal are fantastic chefs, right? Fantastic cooks. So, I've lived in Asia. I lived in, Japan 16 years. I lived in Malaysia for 7 years. I've dealt with all kinds of people, and I understand it. Okay, all the workers are going to be from these kinds of countries, and maybe they don't speak English. Maybe they don't, right? English is not their native language. I don't know how how they communicate with their superiors. I have no idea. So you have those kinds of people, those workers, now they're being tasked with communicating with guests. It's one thing to say, would you like orange juice or grapefruit juice? And it's another thing to say, hey, do you have these symptoms? Are you coughing? Do you have a fever? Oh yeah, by the way, because of what's going on, you're going to be quarantined to your room, da-da-da-da-da-da. It's a completely different set of information that you have to give to guests. And I can imagine it's very stressful for the guests and extremely stressful for the workers. So you've got this situation where it's like a lose-lose situation, right? So you've got to test everyone as fast as possible to find out who has it and who doesn't. But then even though you've tested everyone, and let's say a number of the people don't show signs, they could show signs in the future. So you've got to have a plan in place and say, this is what we're going to do. We're going to take a risk. Okay, let's say they test all 3,700. Maybe you got a 20 or 30% infection rate. It might be higher, because looking at the numbers, they've tested a little over 400 and something now, and it looks like about 120 or 130 people have it. So that's getting close to 1/3. So let's say there's a 30% infection rate. You let the other, 65, 70% go. You put them on planes, you do whatever, you get them out of the country. What else can you do? I mean, the World Health Organization yesterday gave Japan a recommendation. I watched it on TV here in Japanese. They said, okay, everyone's quarantined for 14 days. But let's say on day 10, you finally get tested for the coronavirus and you test positive. Day 10. Well, now anyone that you've had contact with, so you get pulled off the ship into a hospital somewhere. Everyone you've had contact with, now their 14 days starts over. Can you imagine? You've got 3,700 people and they've only pulled off how many? Only 100 and something, right? You could be stuck on this darn ship forever. Think about that. You know, how many people have you come in contact with? Oh, this person, that person. Okay, another 2 weeks. Boom. Okay, oops, another 2 weeks. Oop, another 2 weeks. Hey man, people got lives, you know. You got a job. You might have kids at home. You've got people you got to take care of. This was your vacation. This wasn't, you know, you thinking you're going to get stuck somewhere for a couple months, you know, with no income, right? And, you know, after a while, you're on this cruise. Your money's going to run out. What happens then? What happens then? I've been in this situation where I traveled once in Malaysia, and someone told me $1,000 would be way more than enough. I took 2,000 just to be safe. Guess what? 2,000, that didn't even last. Of course, I'm married and I have kids, but I thought I'd be safe. It wasn't safe. Then what do? Man, you're in trouble. So there's all kinds of issues that are going to come out of this. And I think we're going to see, well, this is kind of a test case. This is a test case. The Japanese are, you know, they're between a rock and a hard place. What to do? Number one, Japan is not a country like America where, you know, Japan talks about, yeah, you know, you should take in immigrants. You should take in immigrants, but we don't want them. You know, as George Carlin used to say, not in my backyard. You know, they think it's great that someone's taking them, but they don't want to take them. That's just been their stance. And I'm not going to say it's right or wrong. That's just been Japan's stance. They don't want immigrants coming into their country. That's just how they are. That's just, you know, they've been that way probably for hundreds of years. That mindset, that isolationist mindset, that's just how it is. So they don't have this idea that we do in America where, oh, if you're an immigrant or if you're in the country, you get free health care. You know, oh, you came and something happened, you get free health care. They don't have that mindset. So now they're looking at it as, whoa, we've got, you know, 100 and some people that we've tested. We've paid for the test. We've gotten an ambulance to take them to a hospital. They're being treated. Who's going to pay for this? Who's going to pay for this? I would think a part of the population in Japan would say, yeah, we'll foot the bill. You can use our taxes. But then there's going to be another part of the population saying, no, we get screwed over enough on our taxes. We're not paying for it. Let someone else pay for it. So that's an issue also. That's an issue also. You know, I'm an American, and we let in a lot of people, a lot of illegal people into the country, and I don't agree with that. Because years ago, when I was visiting America, I'd been living in Japan for about 10 years at the time. I went to visit America, and I had travel insurance. So I had health care. I wanted to get my son treated. They would not treat him because they did not recognize that international health care. I had to call this office in Chicago and have them call the hospital. Hospital wasn't satisfied. No, they wouldn't treat me. They wouldn't treat me. And I pulled $1,000 out of my pocket and I said, here, I'll pay cash for it. Nope, we need to see your insurance card. Well, I just showed you my insurance card. You didn't like it. You won't treat me. Like, what the hell's going on? But I was told later on by one of the nurses that if I was from south of the border, I would have been treated for free. So, you know, what's going on with that kind of stuff? So I know people watching this, some of you might get a little hot and bothered from me saying that, but that's my own personal experience, right? That's my own personal experience. I don't think it was right, and I don't think it's right how things have been, but that's just how it is, right? So I can understand people here in Japan saying, whoa, we don't want to be footing the bill. I mean, Jesus, how many people on this ship? If you get 1/3 that are affected, you're looking at over 1,000 people. Who's going to pay? That's a pretty big chunk of change, right? In Japan, they have national health care. National health care, you pay a certain amount of money each month based on your salary. It doesn't matter if you use the insurance once or you use it 1,000 times. Your payment doesn't change. If you've never used it, you still pay the same based on your salary. So if you have a super high salary, guess what? Your monthly contribution to the national health care, a fund, is very high, very high. So, and then on top of that high fee, you still pay a 30% copay. Doesn't matter. You're still paying 30%, right? Well, unless you're over 70 years old, then they give you kind of a break. And over 75 gives you a break. But hey, everybody else, you know, you're paying for it. So, you know, I've been in the hospital here in Japan, and man, it's not cheap. It's not cheap. People talk about America being expensive, and it is. But Japan is not cheap. Not cheap at all. So who's going to pay for all of these people? That's going to be a big issue. Okay, let me switch gears here. So that's my take on the whole Prince's Cruise thing. Lots of issues. I wouldn't want to be the person in charge, but you need someone decisive. Someone decisive has to come up and say, this is going to be the plan. What do you think of it? Get some feedback from people, and then someone's got to say, the buck stops with me. This is the plan. This is what we're going to do. Let's execute it. Because if you don't, you're going to continue this, wishy-washy, oh, what should we do? What should we do? And you've got healthy people on the boat who are now increasing their chance of being infected with this coronavirus. And this virus, man, it sounds scary. It sounds scary now. I've been, I've only been on YouTube for less than a year. But I've been involved in woo-woo stuff for more than 30 years. I knew about chemtrails before most people were even thinking about. I was talking about chemtrails on different forums here and there when no one knew about chemtrails. There's a lot of topics that just bug the hell out of me because people are talking about them now like they just discovered this. Isn't this a fantastically interesting thing? This is what the government's doing, or this is what, this group or that group is doing. Hey man, I knew about that stuff 25 to 30 years ago. 25 to 30 years ago. And at the time when I was bringing it up with people acted like I was nuts. People would get angry and say, what are you talking about? That's not true at all. Now some of those people come to me and say, oh my God, did you know about this? I'm like, yeah, you asshole. I told you about that 25 years ago. You acted like I was crazy. So, when it comes to woo-woo and conspiracy theories and all that stuff, I'm like way, way, way ahead of the average person. And a lot of stuff does not bother me at all. I take the approach. I mentioned George Carlin a second ago. George Carlin was one of my heroes. I got two heroes. George Carlin, he passed away. Another guy, Cliff High. I know he doesn't want to be anybody's hero, but Cliff is kind of my hero just because I think he's got the right way of thinking. And what I learned from George Carlin is that it's really important not to give a shit about things. If you just stop giving a shit about things, life becomes much easier. And there are a lot of things, that's how I approach it. I just think, well, it's nothing to do with me. It's not my reality. I'm not going to think about it, okay? I'm not going to care. That works pretty good for a lot of things. It'll lower your stress tremendously. However, this coronavirus thing, this kind of came out of left field. I don't think anybody was thinking about this. I hear what some psychics say. I'm pretty in tune with my spirit guides. I get a lot of information. I didn't hear anything about a virus. Now, I personally feel like I'll be okay because I've seen how old I'm going to be someday. Ever since I was a kid, I've always known, I'm going to live to be that age. I was shown that. So that's very liberating in a way, because then you can, live your life fearlessly, knowing that, okay, I'm going to go out that way, and it's going to be at that age. So it's not now. It's not even close to where I am now. But this thing came out of left field. I didn't see it. And I was talking with someone. Actually, they reminded me of something my grandfather talked about. My one grandfather, he was in World War I. This guy was born like in 1894, I think. He was in World War I. And he talked about, the Black Plague. World War I, for those of you who don't know, was from 1914 to 1918, right? And when he was training, I believe he was training somewhere in New Jersey. And it was near the winter time. And he said that guys were dying so fast, they just stacked them up like wood outside because the ground was frozen. They couldn't do anything with the bodies. They just stacked the bodies up. They were dying that fast. And everyone, you just never knew if today was going to be the day you died. Well, he made it. This guy was tough as nails, actually. People talk about the generation that went through the Depression as the great generation. I don't know if it's so much the people who went through the Great Depression as the people who went through, that World War I era and the Great Depression. Those people were tough as nails. My grandfather, remember Listerine? I'm talking about the original Listerine. You ever use Listerine? You put it in your mouth and it starts burning right away. My grandfather used to gargle with it and then swallow it. Like that guy, man, he was just like, I wouldn't be surprised if he like took charcoal briquettes that were red and just crunched them down like ice cubes, you know, tough as nails guy. So he made it through basic training, all those guys dying. He made it going all the way over to, you know, the European front there by boat. I think it took, oh man, how many weeks did it take? I forget what he said, but even on the boat, guys were dying left and right. Can you imagine that? Same kind of thing with this Princess Queen thing, you know, on a very enclosed space. Probably not as good conditions as the Princess Queen, I would guess, these guys. And, you know, it was horrendous. It was horrendous. So now that I'm watching this thing with the coronavirus, doing my own research, and I've been in Japan a long time, I've met a lot of people because of my job, and I know a lot of people in healthcare. And people are really worried. People here in Japan in healthcare are really, really worried because they feel like they're not prepared for this at all. They're not prepared for this at all. You know, I talk about this sometimes on my videos, and I'll just mention something similar again. I've been traveling a lot. I travel for my job. I take a lot of trains, and I've been in places where a lot of Chinese tourists are. And recently I've been thinking to myself, man, how much longer will this go? How much longer will I be able to take the train? Because there are a lot of Chinese tourists, you know, and if you see, you know, it's easy to spot Chinese tourists. I mean, I've been in Japan long enough. I can spot a Japanese person a mile away. You could plop me down in the middle of Thailand and Bangkok, and I could pick out the Japanese tourists walking down the street, okay? And the same with Chinese. You can pick out Chinese people really fast if you know what to look for. And I was on a train the other day, and Chinese guys with like his girlfriend or his wife, he starts coughing. Everybody on that train car like looked at him and like slowly moved away. You could just feel the tension in the air, right? So there's a lot going on here, and I wonder, you know, when it's going to really hit. When it's going to really hit the public consciousness, right? Because I'm on the train, I see this guy coughing, and you know, there are times you just have to touch stuff on the train. You know, the train's kind of full capacity. You're standing out. The train's, you know, moving back and forth. You got to grab one of those straps above you, or grab a bar somewhere, right? I try to grab the highest thing there is. I'm tall, way taller than everybody else, and I can grab these bars up really high. But still, you know, could be something on there. So I get off the first train. I go to the bathroom. No hot water. I'm used to that. No soap. No soap to wash my hands, only water, no paper towels. Oh shit. And I'm wearing a suit. So now my hands are wet. I've got a handkerchief, but I'm thinking my hands aren't clean because I haven't used soap. I don't want to put my dirty hands on my handkerchief now, so it's, you know, it's colder than hell. It's like almost freezing out. Now my hands are wet. I'm walking to the train station I'm getting on another train. So I take the second train, get to the destination station, go into the bathroom, same scenario. No soap, only cold water, no paper towels. Oh man. So then there's a hotel in that station. Great, they have a nice bathroom. I go into the bathroom. No hot water, no soap. In this hotel, this is like a 3-star hotel. No soap in the bathroom. Just then, this was pretty sweet. As I'm turning around, a worker comes in, a lady comes in and says, "Oh, excuse me." And I said, "No, it's okay." And she's holding soap, and she said, "I just filled the soap up." And I'm like, "Oh, that's perfect. That's perfect." So I'm able to wash my hands with cold water and soap, which is better than nothing, right? You know, you want to wash your hands with soap. So then I go to the restaurant of this hotel since I'm there and I need to eat lunch. And they've got those alcohol things you can squeeze, you know, and put alcohol in your hands. And I walk right past it. And the worker says, "Hey, wouldn't you like to clean your hands with alcohol?" And I said, "No, I'll just walk in with my hands all full of bacteria, I guess." It gave me a funny look. And I said to the worker, "You know, if I put the alcohol on my hands, it's going to absorb into my skin within so many seconds. I'm going to sit down at the table. I don't know if the workers who laid down my knife and fork and plate had clean hands or not. What if someone walked by with the coronavirus, coughed, and it got on my plate? Because my plate's been sitting here for I don't know how long before I sat down, right? In these nice restaurants, they lay everything out for you, right? Or my knife or fork could be dirty." "Oh, no, sir, that wouldn't happen." And I said, "Well, you don't know." And I said the other thing, now we're walking to my table. We get to my table. She hands me the menu, and I said, "The menu." has the menu been cleaned? And now she kind of pulls the menu back, doesn't want to give it to me. And I said, see, so I just put the alcohol, if I did put the alcohol in my hands, it's already probably dried, gone into my skin. And now you're going to hand me a dirty menu. And after that, I'm going to walk over to the salad bar. I'm going to pick up how many tongs, how many dirty tongs. And who knows what's on the plates and the glasses. So, you know, I'd have to be like walking around with that alcohol squeeze bottle through the whole place. You know, you guys would get upset if I'm just carrying the thing with me, squeezing it every 5 to 10 seconds because I'm touching something. And I've been to this place before, and the workers know me. And afterwards, the girl came up with my water, and she said, wow, you really made me think about things. God, I thought we had a pretty clean restaurant going, but thinking about what you said, now I'm kind of nervous. And she walked away. Can you imagine that? Like an adult? This is an adult who had never thought all of those things I just told her. Like, that's the mentality. Most public bathrooms do not have, well, if you go to a shopping mall, they're going to have soap, I think. They'll have soap in a public bathroom. But if you go to a train station or any other public bathroom that I can think of, I've never found soap. I've never found hot water. Once in a while at a shopping mall, you will find one of the sinks will have hot water. It'll be designated. It'll say this sink has hot water, or this faucet has hot water. Yeah. So that's the natural state of things here. Most places do not have soap. Not at all. And I've never seen anyone go through and clean things, clean things like properly. I've seen people clean things at train stations where they have like a rag, they might spray something on it, and then they wipe down about 200 different surfaces with it. So by the time it gets to you, everything that's been wiped off, all of the previous surfaces, is now getting smeared on the surface that's near you. To me, that's not clean, personally. So that's just how it is here in Japan. And other parts of Asia are even worse. I feel pretty sorry for the people in Malaysia. I love Malaysia. I love the people in Malaysia, but most of the places had zero hygiene. Anyone who's been to Malaysia, you've been to like a night market, you've been to one of these open air restaurants. Come on, you sat at the table, you rested your arms on the table, and your arms kind of stuck because the table was so freaking scummy dirty from all of whatever that has been on there for God knows how long. Some of the places in Penang, they never changed their cooking oil. For years, they never changed the cooking oil. They just added to it. They never actually cleaned the oil out and started with fresh oil. No, for years, they just kept adding new oil to that dirty oil. So, hygiene is an issue and I can imagine China. I've been to Chinese markets in Malaysia too. I'm not surprised there was, some kind of weird virus that came out of these things. If it walks, crawls, or flies, it gets eaten, right? And these markets, they'll sell anything. And again, I'm not, criticizing anyone one way or another for what they eat. I'm just saying that the standards of hygiene are very different in Asia than they are in the rest of the world. And I'm looking at this from a Western point of view. Like, I'm an American, I've lived in Japan, so I would call those kind of first world countries, so to speak. That's just, I'll use the first world designation for those countries. But, parts of Asia, they're not looking at things the same way we are. So I think the spread of the virus is, in some parts of the world, they're going to get hit pretty hard. And when I think back to my grandfather talking about the Black Plague, and how things were then, in those days in America, things weren't very hygienic. Things were not hygienic at all. I've, heard a lot of funny stories about how, different relatives were pretty filthy and didn't understand the importance of, regular bathing and all this kind of stuff. So I can imagine certain parts of Asia will be hit very hard. And the other thing is, now, I do know some people in China, just because of my previous work. I worked at a Chinese company, actually. So I know a number of people who are in China, in Hong Kong, and other countries where Chinese are prevalent. And, there's a lot of a distrust of what's out there, the official figures. There are people who talked about, there's a website in Taiwan, I think it's a news website, they put out the official numbers, how many people are infected, how many have died, whatever. And they say that channel several days ago was giving out two sets of numbers. For like 5 to 10 minutes, they would give out one set of numbers, and then it would change quickly to the second set of numbers. And the second set of numbers agreed with what the Chinese government was saying. And the numbers that were only on there for 5 to 10 seconds were considerably higher. I actually have a screen grab of that, but I don't want to share it because it has some information about that person's identity. But anyway, if you search online, I'm sure you're able to find the same information as I've been given. So it makes me wonder how many people really do have this thing, right? Okay, so we're talking about the coronavirus. We're talking about this cruise ship in Japan, the situation here, my thoughts on it. It's all my opinion, right? And I'm not saying any of this to scare people. I'm just giving you my opinion as I see things. I'm just, gathering information and, filing it away. Now, how is this going to affect cryptocurrencies? Well, this is going to affect cryptocurrencies in a very interesting way. Number one, as I talked about previously, if you're worried about a virus being on something, you don't want to touch it. Money's filthy anyway. Come on, let's face it. Money is really filthy. It's really filthy. So money could be carrying the virus. Okay, so no, and everyone's going to understand this. And I'm not even going to get into, I just remembered a couple of videos I'd been sent from someone in China about the situation in China, and I almost went off on a tangent. I'm not going to do that, okay? I'm going to fight it back and not do that. Oh man, I'd love to talk about those things though. Anyway, okay, so nobody wants to touch money, but you're still going to have to exchange something. If you want to purchase goods or order something, you need to pay somehow. Cryptocurrencies, it's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer. I could send somebody money right now. I mean, you could be in Antarctica, and as long as we both had internet connections, we could be sending cryptocurrencies back and forth to each other. You could be sending me, like, I don't know, penguin feathers or something, and I could be sending you, Bitcoin. I wouldn't send Bitcoin, but I'd send you Digibyte or something like that, something really fast and low cost. I could send you, tons of Digibyte. You just keep sending those penguin feathers, and I'll keep sending the Digibyte. That would work so easily, right? And the other thing is, okay, just think about China for a second. So no one wants to handle money. And I've actually heard reports about this. People don't want to handle money. They're nervous about it. But you have to exchange value somehow. What do? Okay, you're going to get on exchanges or do something. Do whatever you have to get your fiat currency turned into cryptocurrencies. Okay? So that's going to create a situation where everyone wants cryptocurrencies. The word will get out. And, the reason that fiat money, paper money, the money you feel in your hands, the reason that has value is because we all agree that it has that value. The government backs it and we think, yeah, it's going to be okay. But what happens when people don't even want to touch that money anymore? It's going to get to a point where, people might say, I don't want that. Give me Bitcoin. Give me Neo. Right there in China, give me Neo. I'll take Neo. I don't want the yuan. I don't want paper money. So there could come a time when people actually don't even want the currency. They don't want the fiat currency because there's a risk there, right? There's a risk that you could actually get sick and, what's the most lethal outcome of the coronavirus is you kick the bucket, right? So I think cryptocurrencies, God, I never thought cryptocurrencies would be adopted for a reason like this. I didn't think this would cause mass adoption of cryptocurrencies, but this might be the catalyst that really does it. Just think about it. If you're in America or like me in Japan, what would happen if no one would take my yen anymore? I still need to buy things. I can order stuff off of Amazon Japan or Amazon in America, hopefully. Costco, there's a Costco. There's a number of Costcos in Japan. Now you can order online and they'll ship it to you. I need to get that. I don't want to use cash. I could use cryptocurrency. What are you going to do, right? It seems like a no-brainer for me. And once people start to understand that, they start to understand that, oh, there is an alternative, and this is safe, as in it's going to keep my health much more than the fiat currency will, because the fiat currency is going to become a risk. I don't know if you guys have seen the videos or not, but there are places in China that deal with a lot of cash. They're taking the money and they're putting it in these huge, oh shoot, what do you call those things? They put surgical tools into them. Years ago when I was a tattoo artist, I had one. You put your surgical stuff in there. It's not a sanitizer. What is it? I know a bunch of you are like shouting out the answers as you're watching this. I can't remember what it is, but you know what I'm talking about, right? Yeah, a sterilizer. Yeah. They're putting money, these huge racks of money, into these massive sterilizers. Now, they wouldn't be doing that if there wasn't an extreme risk, right? And maybe that's not even going to work, putting it in a sterilizer. I don't know. I have no idea. So that's going to really cause an interesting issue. What happens when a country's citizens no longer want the paper money, the fiat money that the government has? Maybe China, China's very long-term thinking, right? And their plans were to unroll a cryptocurrency this year, right? I don't know, how many months out are they from rolling this thing out? Maybe, someone looked ahead to the future and said, wow, if we ever had a big outbreak, that would be terrible. Man, we got to get this cryptocurrency rolled out. Now, I don't think anyone had that idea, but, for the conspiracy theorists out there, possibly the reason for the cryptocurrency being, fast-tracked was because, hey, we have this something in the works, this coronavirus, it may go haywire. Okay, we better get this cryptocurrency unleashed before that happens. Well, it didn't happen that way, but, it wasn't ready yet, but who knows, right? And I'm not saying that's the reason they did it. I'm just saying if you're of a conspiratorial bent, you may have had that thought before. Just because you're paranoid doesn't mean someone's not out to get you, right? That's the saying. Okay, so I never thought adoption could happen this way, but it looks like it may happen this way. So, and if this thing really spreads, it won't be just China. It'll be everywhere. No one will be interested in taking paper money anymore. No one. And I think it's pretty interesting. Have there been any psychics out there or anyone talking about this? And I don't mean like recently, because if you come out and say, oh, so-and-so mentioned this last week, I'm not going to buy it. Was there anyone out there, 6 months ago or a year ago saying, hey, there's going to be an outbreak of a virus. It'll start in China. It'll spread like this, blah, 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 blah. If there is, let me know. Put a comment down below. Okay, guys. I just want to end with a little bit about cryptos here. If you've been following the crypto market at all, I've got my computer off to the side here. I'm just going to look at it a little bit. I'm not like ignoring anybody. If you've been watching cryptos at all, there have been some fantastic chances for trading, for taking some profits. Now, this is not financial advice. This is just for educational and institutional purposes. I'm just telling you maybe what I've done. And, Tezos, oh my God, Tezos had a beautiful run the last week or so. Actually, more than a week, but I'm just going to talk about the last week. I think this morning it was at 268. When I looked, no, that was yesterday. Let me get today's numbers here. Okay, it was at 260. Okay, it's down a little bit today. But if anyone had Tezos and you bought it at a decent price, and I think a decent price for Tezos was around, $1. If you got for, Tezos around $1 or less, man, you had some fantastic opportunities to trade this thing. When I say trade this thing, I mean to take some profits, right? You had some great chances to sell your coins, sell some of your coins in hopes of the price going down again, right? And the funny thing about cryptos is so many people out there are just hodl, 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 hodl. They never take these opportunities to sell at the highs and then wait for the coin to go back to the lows and buy it back. But if, I know a number of people who've taken advantage of this, and congratulations to them. I myself did all right. I made a video back in September talking about trading NEO and OMG, because my three amigos are NEO OMG and Tezos, right? So back in July to September, I was trading NEO and OMG. Did very, very well with that. Did very, very well. And I'm doing even better with Tezos now. And I'm not sure why that is, but maybe it's because I have more experience. I'm, charting all kinds of things every day. I've got like 14 different things I chart. And maybe it's giving me better insights. I don't know. But Tezos has been very beautiful to me. And it's been a super coin to trade. Maybe it's, it's going down a little bit today. I don't know. I'm hoping it goes down, then I can buy it back even cheaper. If it doesn't, I'll be happy. I'll be happy if it keeps going up and up and up and up. Let's see what else. NEO Gas. NEO Gas has been doing well. I see today it's at $1.55, or it was this morning when I checked it. Now, NEO Gas is this is a fantastic token. Most people don't know about it. I won't say what I bought it for, but considerably less than $1.55. Let's just say that. I think NEO Gas is going to be one of these huge surprises that no one realizes. It's just going to like shoot out of nowhere. And they're going to be, holy mackerel, NEO Gas, what? I mean, I call it NEO Gas, but it's gas. It's the gas token that goes with NEO. If you have NEO, you earn gas, right? Okay, let's see. The same with, NEO's not doing too bad. Was at $13.50 this morning. I don't know what it is right now. OMG was down for a long time. OMG was down in the 80-cent range for a long time. I think it dipped down into the 70-cent range. Now it's over $1. It's like $1.12 this morning. That's been doing great. How about Ethereum Classic? That's been just tremendous. That's at $11.83 this morning. That's been doing awesome. The same with Theta. I see Theta was, of all the coins I watched, Theta was up today the most. Theta's finally over 12 cents. Seems like it's holding strong at 12 cents, which is really, really good to see. Now let's just see if we can get a Digibyte. I don't know why I match up Theta and Digibyte as like a partner, like a Starsky and Hutch or something like that. Digibyte's only 0.7 of a penny. This thing's got to take off. Come on. It's a great project. Man, Digibyte's a great project. I don't know why this thing isn't to the moon already, but hey, I'm patient. I'll wait. Let's see, what else? Bitcoin Cash is doing pretty good. I see Bitcoin is down. Bitcoin was over 10,000. It's around 9,800, or it was this morning when I checked. And I see Bitcoin Cash was at 452. I don't know what it is now. It might be down a little bit. Bitcoin Cash is holding well. If you had one Bitcoin today, you could buy 21.77 Bitcoin Cash. Now, when Bitcoin was at its strongest, we'll say about a month or two ago, you could have bought 37 Bitcoin Cash with your one Bitcoin. 37 Bitcoin Cash with one Bitcoin. That was a fantastic deal. Now it's switched around. Bitcoin Cash has gotten a lot stronger in comparison to Bitcoin. Okay, let's see what else here. That's about all I'm looking at. All that looks good to me. Cardano and Stellar. Cardano, used to be considerably less than Stellar. Cardano is close to 6 cents. Stellar is around 7 cents, close to 7 cents. I wonder if Cardano will ever overtake Stellar. I think on the market cap, it's already done that. So that'll be interesting. And then one last thing I want to talk about is Veritasium. I love Veritasium. What's going on with Reggie Middleton and what happened with the Securities and Exchange Commission? I don't know all the details. I've always thought his project and his Vader platform was fantastic. The price of Veritasium has really gone up in the last week or two. It's over $8 now. It's like it was $8.28 this morning. And I can remember on my Patreon channel, I've been telling my patrons for the last 3-4 weeks, man, Veritasium, if you got it, you trade that sucker because it had these beautiful ups and downs, very distinct, band. This would, hit this high, drop back down to this low, hit this high. You could have day traded Veritasium there for at least 3 weeks. Easy. So Veritasium seems like it'll still be a great project, and I look forward to see what happens to it. Okay guys, not too much else is going on. I just wanted to talk a little bit about the coronavirus and the cruise ship in Japan, being that I'm here in Japan, and then just touch on cryptos a little bit. I really think all of this is going to change how we look at cryptos, how everyone looks at cryptos. Hopefully this will, well, I don't want to say hopefully because I've been hoping for mass adoption for about 2 years now. However, I would like to see mass adoption occur for other reasons than a worldwide, epidemic virus, right? Okay, everybody, you guys take care. If you have a question or comment, put it below. If you liked what you saw today, smash up that like button, subscribe. It helps me out. I appreciate it. You guys take care, and I will see you in the future.